Hello all and welcome back to Scouse Farm. As promised, I'm going to do today a potato experiment. So for those who've not watched any previous videos, I did an experiment early on in the season with planting potatoes just in a small amount of compost below them, and then instead of using compost on top, I just used leaves from the park and leaves that have fallen off all of the trees in this area. So you'll see this tree there to the far left, that drops its trees. That's the neighbour, a tree in a neighbouring property I should say, and then they always blow down this way. So I scooped up a load of them, kept them for a bit, and they were part and parcel of the little mix that I used to grow the leaves, or grow the potatoes in the leaves, and it was a success. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my own potatoes that I've harvested this year, and I'm going to plant them in this bucket. And this is compost that I've used, or sorry, the compost that I've got from my compost bin. So this is all homemade compost, and then in this bucket is a mixture of last year's potato compost, and mixed in is some of the compost from this year. So it has been used before, so it's not going to be completely fully packed full of nutrients, but I'm going to test it out and see what happens. And the aim or the objective is to get 4 seed potatoes in here that haven't even yet sent out the chits or the eyes, depending on what you want to call them. So they're not completely ready to be seed potatoes, but I'm confident that if I plant them in here now, cover them up with the compost and just leave them, then I'll maybe have some potatoes for Christmas. Excuse me, voice is a bit croaky. Right, so what I'm going to do, just to boost it a bit, is I've got some left over. This is organic potato fertilizer, and it's your standard NPK, which is your nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium mix. And this is a I don't know what you call it, a 12-6-6 mix. So you've got 12 nitrogen, 6 phosphorus and 6 potassium. That's the makeup of it, or the breakdown. So I've already sprinkled a bit and mixed it in to the base of this compost, which I'm using for the seed potatoes to sit on top of. And then once I've put the compost on top, I'll sprinkle a bit of this on. So what we have then, a King Edward that you recently seen harvested. Prior to that we had Desirees that were harvested. So I'm using 1 King Edward, 1 Desiree and 2 Charlotte. That's what I'm going to use as the seeds. And what I'm going to do is, oh, that looks like a spiky bit, so that'll do. So I'll just place it in now. One there, just firm it in a bit and keep it pointing up. And then the Desiree, fat end down, thin end pointing to the top. And the Charlottes can stay down this end. They can go in there. And there. So there's 4 seed potatoes. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover it. So I'll sprinkle a bit of this fertilizer on top directly. It's got a mixture of how much you should put in, but I don't pay any attention to it whatsoever because I couldn't care less. I just guess, and it seems to work all right. So that's the way it goes. And what I'll do now, I'll just cover them up, just would sprinkle a few handfuls of this compost soil mix over the top. And then instead of filling the bucket all the way up, because they haven't chitted yet or sent out eyes, I'm just going to cover it to maybe here, so that when I see a little bit of green poking through the top, I'll know they've at least taken, and then I can then fill the bucket up to the level that I want it to go to, which is about 3 inches below the top. Right, so all the potatoes have disappeared now. And again, there is a supposed amount that you're supposed to place into the compost of this mix, fertilizer mix, but I'm just going to sprinkle a bit more in and then mix it in by hand. There's not much left in it anyway. Well, I'll just mix it a little bit in by hand there, and then carry on adding a bit more compost. because as soon as you water this as well, once you water it in, the level of the compost will sink. And as you know, again from a previous video, you don't want the tubers in direct sunlight, because then they will become toxic and they'll develop solanine, which is the green coloration that you see on the surface of some potatoes. And for those who've not seen a previous video, please just check there. I think it was on the King Edward harvest video where I pointed out what solanine looks like, and give an example in the description, or a write-up in the description, of what solanine is and the fact that it's bad for human digestion. So it is toxic, it's not good to be eating it. So if you do see any green on your potatoes, throw them away or compost them. Right, that'll do for now. So got enough there, sprinkle a bit more of this on, that's it, there's none left. So that's the amount. Just like any food mixture, it always tells you to add 2 tablespoons or this, that and the other, but you end up putting in whatever you think is right. So that's that done. And while we're here, I'll just show you, lost a few blueberries to creatures, that's why I've moved it over here. But he's getting big now, so he'll be getting munched soon. So the last time I had one that I had earmarked, and a pigeon or a blackbird or something just got it off there, so I lost out. I think I've got one ready to go now. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah, he is going to get ate immediately, because I'm not taking a chance. So only a small container there, well pruned blueberry, but you still get a good harvest off of it. And next year when I put that from that small container into a larger one, I'm going to get a lot more out of this, because I'm not going to prune it anymore. I was watching videos on how to look after blueberries, and you know, you should vigorously prune them and cut this off, cut that off. In the end, I'm just like, no, I'm just going to leave it and just shape it so it stays within the perimeter of the pot that it goes in. So there we go, potato experiment. We'll see how we get on with this, and thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and Scouse Farm, we'll see you again soon.